Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lanice and I am a nurse and I do these cool little nursing videos. If you are not new here, hello, welcome back. You already know what I got to say. Thank you for tuning in because you could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me, baby. Okay. So anyways, we will go ahead and get straight to the nitty gritty. Okay. Today. We are talking about protecting your nursing license, okay? Protecting that sweet, beautiful license that pays the bills and that you need in order to practice, baby. In order to practice, you need your license, so you got to protect it. And I know that I get up here and I try to keep a pretty positive outlook on nursing, even though it does have its dark moments. I try to come up here and keep a pretty positive outlook on nursing. It not only pays the bills, it is a very rewarding career. It is a career that I do enjoy. However, that has not came at an easy cost. I have been in some pretty shaky circumstances or been in some pretty shaky situations before, and it has caused a lot of character building, and it has also made me scared a few times. I've also been very scared a few times. So I will start by just kind of telling you guys a story. Without giving too much detail, I was working on a travel assignment and I was working on a cardiac unit. Now, they happened to give me a patient who was going through an abortion while also being on, I think it was, I can't remember what type of drip it was, but she was on the cardiac floor because she had cardiac issues and she was on a cardiac drip. However, she was in labor, basically. I had to administer an abortion pill to her, which was a situation I have never been in before. I don't know anything about abortion medications. I don't work in labor and delivery, so I don't know anything about any reproductive system, hardly at all, outside of my own female organs, the reproductive system, and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's not my cup of tea. That's not my forte. I have no experience in that at all whatsoever. So I had a patient who was having an abortion, and long story short, on my shift, she expelled the fetus. Now, mind you, I really shouldn't have had this patient. This patient shouldn't have been on our floor. However, that's the way the hospital had it set up. She had to be on a cardiac floor because they couldn't run that drip on their floor. And long story short, the patient did not care for how I handled the situation. And there were things that I did in the situation that I could have done differently. But I just had never been in this situation before. So when she expelled the fetus, she didn't like how I handled the situation, which I completely understand. And I ended up getting reprimanded for how I handled the situation. But at the end of the day, I never felt comfortable having that patient. And had I had spoken up and just told the charge nurse or whoever, just someone, I don't want this assignment or I don't want this particular patient because I don't really know how to handle this situation. I didn't. I went on and took it. I thought, this is normal protocol. I'll be okay. And I ended up getting, reprimanded for how I handled the situation. So I say that to say it is very important to protect your license. And I'm going to give you guys some ways in order to, maybe not some ways, I'm going to give you guys some tips in how to protect your license, okay? So we will get into the first tip. The first tip here is to know your assignment, and know that you have the right to decline an assignment. So I am a med surg nurse. We often get 6 patients on these floors. Excuse me. We often get 6 patients on most of the floors that I work on. And I will not take more than 6 patients. I have heard of some med-surg floors making the nurses take 7 patients. I will not take 7 patients on the med-surg floor. If it's a skilled nursing unit or maybe even a rehab unit, I would take 7 patients. But in med surg, no, I'm turning down that assignment. I'm not taking 7 patients. I don't feel comfortable taking 7 patients. Sorry, it's not worth it. Also, I remember one time I was working on the COVID unit, and this floor in particular, they prefer nurse to nurse report, and I get it. I know that nurse to nurse report makes reports so much easier. I know it does. I honestly do hate having to get report from so many nurses sometimes. I do. I really do. However, acuity is important whenever you're having like 5 and 6 patients. Acuity is extremely important. So I was on the floor. It was a COVID unit, and they gave me like 5 COVID patients, and the other nurses either had 1 or none. 1 or none? No, like, I'm not taking all these COVID patients and you guys have an easy breezy day, never having to put on any type of PPE. And I'm having to put on PPE for every single one of my patients, and they're all COVID positive. So they're going to be needing extra care just so y'all can give nurse to nurse report. No, ma'am. We're not having that. So I definitely spoke up, and some of those COVID patients came off of my assignment. So you have to be able to speak up when it comes to these assignments. Okay. You have the right to decline it. You have the right to complain about it. You have the right. Now, I'm not saying complain about everything, because no matter what hospital you work in, the hospitals are terrible. Like it's a tough job working in a hospital. But when it comes to like assignments and what you feel comfortable with, no, you have the right to speak up about it. Okay. So that would be tip number 1. Tip number 2 would be to chart, baby. Chart. Okay. You want to make sure you are charting everything. And this is coming from somebody who has a hard time with charting. I think it's partly my ADHD, and having to remember to chart everything and having to sit down to chart everything. I'm constantly going, or my mind just starts getting like, scattered after a while. I do forget to chart. I often get home and I'm like, oh man, I forgot to chart that. Why didn't I chart that? But charting is very important. You want to CYA, cover your arse, and you want to make sure you chart. Okay. So that would be my tip number 2. Tip number 3 would be to give it your all. Now, I played sports growing up, and I know that a motto that a lot of my coaches, told us was leave it all on the court, leave it all on the track, give it all you got. Like, when you go to work, you have to have that same attitude. And again, I'm talking to myself here too, because this is coming from, it's so easy to be lazy. It is very easy to be a lazy nurse. Like, it takes absolutely nothing to be a lazy nurse. There are lots of them out there, and I'm not going to act like I don't have my days or years of being a lazy nurse. But if you go to work and you give it all that you got, and you try to be in that moment the best nurse that you can be very confident in you taking care of that patient and you not having anything bad. Like, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, if you're being very careful with your medications, if you're notifying the physicians like you're supposed to be notifying them about stuff, if you're charting, if you're giving it your all, and you're not sitting down ignoring your patients, because there are nurses out there that are like that. And at times it can be a headache, if somebody, the other night when I went to work, I was working on the neuro unit, and they gave me all the confused patients, and then the floor itself just had a lot of tube feeds, so everybody had a lot of tube feeds or peg tubes. I had a patient pull out her NG tube, and then the patient next door was also confused and continued to hit the call light for nothing, and it's a lot that goes on. So it's very easy to ignore stuff or to just say I'll get to it in a moment. But just when you go to work, give it all you got. And if you give it all you got, then you don't have to worry about anything coming back like, oh, you didn't do this, or you didn't, why didn't you chart that? Not saying that you're not going to make any mistakes, not saying that, you're going to be able to feel it 100% every day, but just do your best. And that's all anybody can ask of you. Okay. And then the last tip I would give you guys is to always ask questions. I'm telling you, it's nothing more annoying than a nurse that knows everything, that is never wrong, that thinks they know everything. Like, ask questions, especially the new nurses. Like, ask questions. If you don't know it, look it up. There's a policy on everything. There's an answer to every question you'll have, okay? So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Just, if you don't know it, if you've never done it before, like the other night I had to put on a dop off. I had never, this is so foreign to me. Like, I never have to put on a dop off, that whenever I text the physician, hey, the patient pulled out their dop off, I spelled it incorrectly. And the patient was like, and then the doctor was like, what is that? Do you mean? And spelled it correctly. I'm like, oh God, like I never have to insert those things. So for me to have, I asked the charge nurse, like, hey, can you help me? I'll do it, but walk me through it. Show me how it's, like, tell me what to do, because I want to make sure I do it right, because I don't do them often on most of the floors. I very rarely work on the neuro floor, and when I do, they have a peg tube, so I wanted to make sure I did it right. I'm not afraid to admit that I don't know something, okay? I'm not afraid to admit that. And if you want to protect your license, don't do anything you don't know how to do, anything you don't feel comfortable doing. Don't do it. But anyways, those are the tips that I have for you guys. And these new settings on my camera are going to kill me, because it is overheating. I mean, it looks amazing, quality bomb, but it's overheating. It's about to cut off in 2 seconds. So I'll get back. Okay, so I actually went and picked up my daughter. And the last thing I was saying was my camera was overheating. Y'all. Fire. Hold on. I don't want to do y'all like that with the crunching. No. But the last thing I was saying was to ask questions. You do not want to be the nurse that knows it all. You do not want to be the nurse that did something they really didn't feel comfortable doing. So just taking it back, going back to number one. Number one is knowing that you have the right to decline an assignment. You don't have to take an assignment that you don't feel comfortable with taking. And you also have the right to, have an assignment that is within the acuity of your scope, or, that has a decent acuity, especially compared to others, especially when you're traveling. You don't want them. Being a float nurse, I realize that they kind of just give us whoever nobody else wants, especially if I go in on a shift at 11. Everybody ends up giving me the patient that they didn't want that day, not even caring about acuity. So number one would be knowing you have the right to decline an assignment. Number two would be to chart. It is so important to cover your own behind. Always chart. Number three, what was number three, y'all? Number three was, hold on, y'all, I'm getting there. Give it your all. You want to go to work and leave it all on the floor. Like they say, if you played sports, you want to go to work and give it your all. Okay. Give it your 100%. And number four would be to ask questions. Make sure that you're not doing anything you don't know how to do. Read your policy and procedure. Anytime you have a question, there is normally 99.9% of the time there's going to be an answer that you can read in a policy. So those are my 4 tips on how to protect your license, y'all. Don't be like me, be better than me, because it's hard out here for nurses, okay? Make good decisions, do what you know is best. Don't be a lazy nurse. That's really all I can say. So thank you for tuning in to another one of my videos. If you haven't already liked, commented, subscribed, hit the notification button, and shared the content with your other nursing friends or people that might be interested in nursing. If you haven't already done that, I need you to go ahead and do it. Thank you. I need you to go ahead and do it. And I'm going to go ahead and get out here. The lighting is starting to get a little bit bad. So, and I got that hot date. Oh, I didn't tell you guys. I told you guys in the vlog, but I didn't tell you in this video. I have a date tonight. So I am kind of excited about that. I'm trying a new restaurant. If you know me, you know that I love to try new restaurants. So tonight I'm going to try this place called 60 Vines in Charlotte. They have 60 different wines on tap, and I have seen so many people talking about it. I've seen it on TikTok, and I'm so excited to try it. So I have to get out of here, you guys. I hope you enjoyed my content. I hope it was educational, beneficial, all that good stuff. And me and Mr. Snyders, we're gonna get out of here. Peace.